Doug. I now want to go to the chair of the Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee, Mr. Griffith, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dabar, Inflation Reduction Act, we've heard about that. We've heard about trying to, do all this stuff in America. And one of the stipulations in that act when they were doing all the Green New Deal type stuff inside of what was supposed to be the Inflation Reduction Act was that we would do it in America. We're going to do it in the United States. So I've got a couple of questions in that regard, and that is, one, recently the DOE awarded a $200 million grant to battery maker Microvast, even after the company told the Securities and Exchange Commission that they were heavily dependent upon policies made by the Chinese Communist Party's apparatus in China. Do our DOE officials do a decent job of vetting these, or do they just fill them out, and if they've got an address in Texas, that's good enough?
Yes, Congressman, I can't exactly define what DOE did on the Microvast award, but as you correctly said, the company itself told the Securities and Exchange Commission it was a Chinese-controlled entity and that it did not meet American accounting standards, and the Securities and Exchange Commission was looking at delisting them from the United States. Even though technically it was legally incorporated here, the vast majority of the operations were in China by their own admission and with the SEC. It is, I think it was the intent of the Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Act to strengthen American companies and to for those battery technologies, amongst others, get us away from China. And that is a bit of a question on why they decided to see that.
So you would think that was a bad decision by DOE to give them $200 million?
I think that there are plenty of other companies, there are plenty of battery companies, and I'm not certain why awarding it to someone who self-admits that they're a Chinese-controlled entity. There's probably other ones in the United States to support.
Let me ask you about Contemporary Amperex Technology Company Limited. Now, this is a Chinese battery manufacturer and also attempting to get both Virginia money and federal money, made a deal with Ford, but in that deal, Ford would own the physical plant, but the Chinese company would have all the technology. They would control all the technology and all the actual manufacturing. Is that really a way to bring American green technology into the forefront, or are all we doing is becoming a colony of China when it comes to battery technology, when we take our taxpayer dollars and give it to the Chinese, even if they have a Ford nameplate on the outside of the factory?
Yes, Congressman. It appears that Ford and the largest Chinese battery manufacturer, the largest one in the world, Cattle, decided to structure legally to get around the Inflation Reduction Act American requirements by having Ford front them, but it was really going to be a cattle plant. I applaud the governor of Virginia to turn that down. But whether it's this committee or Ways and Means, I would hope that someone would write a letter to Treasury as they look at writing the tax code underneath the Inflation Reduction Act, and make certain that lawyers, no disrespect to lawyers, I'm a nuclear engineer, don't come up with all these options that legally get around the Treasury rules, but allow Chinese companies to get a greater foothold in the United States. Hopefully that's quite bipartisan.
Well, I hope that will be bipartisan, and I can assure you that we'll continue to do oversight from this committee. Hopefully other committees will do as well. With the remaining time that I have left, I would be remiss if I didn't give Ms. Jackson some time. If you could expound on how late and missed electric bill payments, in light of the fact that the rates are going up for everybody in the country, including poor folks, how the late and missed electric bill payments compound the negativity on families living paycheck to paycheck.
Well, we're not living paycheck to paycheck. We're living paycheck to Wednesday, and then we're borrowing money for people to be able to last us to the end of the week. So the impact is devastating. This is the deal. Here's the situation. We should be making sure, our community shouldn't be an afterthought. And so that when you're sitting down there thinking about how you're going to work with energy, we should also be considering the cost.
And the cost for the poor families in particular. Thank you very much. My time's up. I yield back.